A crowd. Welcome, everyone. My name is Craig Bell Estabrooks. I am the President and CEO of the Port of St. John. And we're here today with our two very special guests, Premier Ford and Premier Holt. And I'm just going to give a couple of quick remarks on behalf of the Port Authority and then turn it over to the premiers. This is an incredible moment for us at Port St. John. And why we're here today is that we were reconciling our 2025 statistics. We've got a growing container business. We've put a lot of money, $247 million over the last decade, into our infrastructure. We've created really interesting, diverse assets at the port to grow our container business. And we've seen our volumes increase steadily over the last number of years. And we get questions a lot, where's the origin and destined, cargo coming from with respect to Canada? And what we saw very clearly in our stats in 2025 is that Ontario is playing a very, very large role in our gateway. Primarily the transatlantic trade. We have many container services that go on a daily and weekly basis from our port to Europe, and transatlantic trade is a big focus for us. And what we've seen is a growth in exports from Ontario to our port and then getting to markets in the transatlantic. And we think that is a really special development for us at the Port of St. John, and it's something that we're very proud of. And when we pitched this idea to Premier Holt about having an event and a gathering with Premier Ford and getting an audience with the folks in Ontario and industry in Ontario, our whole goal is so that people understand our gateway, understand the services that we provide at the Port of St. John, and perhaps we can open up a new market for industry and for a specific company. So that's one of the main reasons that we wanted to be here and have this audience today. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Premier Holt. I like to say our Premier in New Brunswick is our main marketer and main really cheerleader for our port and our gateway. She's been absolutely phenomenal and has really helped us along the way. So without further ado, Premier Holt.
Thank you very much, Craig. Craig and the team at Port St. John make it very easy to be a champion for the work that they do. The Port of St. John is Ontario's port. Le Port de Saint-Jean est le port de l'Ontario. New Brunswick is playing a critical role in world-class shipping hubs and helping build a strong, connected Canadian economy, bringing Canada to global markets. Our continuous investment in the Port of St. John and its growth ensures economic stability, not just for today, but for the long term, making New Brunswick a cornerstone of Canada's trade network. Le port assure une stabilité économique, non seulement aujourd'hui, mais à la long terme, faisant du Nouveau-Brunswick la pierre angulaire du réseau commercial du Canada. Critical trade corridor infrastructure, like Port St. John, ensures the free flow of goods across the country, increasing exports and investments that benefit communities nationwide. In the last year alone, New Brunswick's Port St. John handled a 153% increase in goods from Ontario bound for international markets. That was part of the nearly 600% increase in goods moved from Ontario through Port St. John over the last 5 years. Le Port de Saint-Jean au Nouveau-Brunswick a enregistré une hausse de 153% de marchandises en provenance d'Ontario à des destinations en marchés internationaux. Ontario exports made up 31% of Port St. John's total exports in 2025, showing how this kind of collaboration drives national trade opportunities. Ontario is our close neighbor and New Brunswick's second largest trading partner. We are proud to be able to serve Ontario entrepreneurs and businesses and help them reach customers around the world through the Port of St. John. Lorsque les provinces travaillent ensemble, le Canada est plus compétitif et nous gagne. When provinces work together, Canada competes and wins. Now I'd like to introduce the Honourable Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford.
That's great. Thank you. Well, first of all, hello, everyone. And it's great to be here with Premier Holt. You know, I remember the first day Susan and I met when you got elected, Susan. We've hit it off. I can't ask for a better partner than Premier Holt, and I'm very grateful. And Craig from Port St. John, RJ from Toronto Port Authority, Jason from the Chamber of Marine Commerce, and it's really growing the marine sector in Ontario, and Larissa from the Hamilton Oshawa Port Authority, and industry leaders who keep our province moving. I want to thank all of you behind us here. You know, President Trump is taking direct aim at Canadian workers in every province and in every industry across Canada, from auto and steel workers in Ontario to fishery and forestry workers in New Brunswick. In response, premiers are standing united to protect our workers and our country. At the heart of our plan is the work we're doing to unlock free trade across Canada and get Canadian products to new markets around the globe. Over the past year, I've worked closely with other premiers, including Premier Holt, to make genuine free trade within Canada a reality. The benefits of free trade in Canada are clear. It can add $200 billion to our economy, about anywhere from 4 to 6% in our GDP, creating new opportunities for workers and businesses across the country. Free trade within Canada makes our country stronger, more resilient, more competitive, more united, and more able to stand up to President Trump and his tariffs. That's why we've signed agreements to unlock free trade with 10 other provinces and territories, and that's why Ontario has removed all party-specific exceptions under the Canadian Free Trade Agreement. We're making it easier for workers from other parts of our country to come to Ontario, get certified quickly, and get on the job without delay. And we're supporting mutual recognition of standards and approvals from other provinces and territories. Today, we're here to mark an important milestone in our ongoing work to build a more united, a more resilient Canadian economy. Over the past year, the amount of Ontario export products moving through Port St. John, including major categories like vehicles, metals, forestry, agricultural products, have increased, as Premier Holt said, by 153%, with more than 2.5 times as much traffic compared to 2024. So as we've always said, we have to diversify our trade around the world, not be so reliant on our American friends. And that's exactly what we're doing, as you can see with the numbers. And I'm so pleased that the vast majority of that trade is going to new and growing markets overseas, in Europe, Asia, the Caribbean, and Central America. It's proof that our plan to diversify our trade and to protect Canadian jobs is working. It also sends a clear message to President Trump. The world wants what Canada has, and we're working together as Canadians to get our products to those new customers we want to work with, and we also want to work with the United States and maintain good relationships with our American neighbors. But if President Trump wants to tariff Canadian goods and make life more expensive for American taxpayers, then we'll gladly take what we make here in Canada and send it to the rest of the world. Today's update is good news for workers in Ontario and in New Brunswick, but there's more work to be done. We need to double down on our plan to build and upgrade nation-building infrastructure that will help Canadian goods get to new markets. That includes new and upgraded pipelines, rail lines, highways, airports, and seaports like Port St. John. And I know Port St. John has already seen rapid growth in the last few years. And I'm pleased to hear the federal government recognizes the need for even more expansion as soon as possible. And of course, as we build, we need to be using Canadian steel, lumber, and any other Canadian products we can, so that Canadian tax dollars support Canadian workers. I look forward to continuing to work with Premier Holt, industry leaders, my fellow premiers, and the Prime Minister as we build a stronger, more resilient, and more competitive, and a more united Canadian economy, so we can protect our workers from sea to sea to sea. May God bless the people of New Brunswick, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you so much.
President can line up behind me and ask their questions through the microphone. The format today will be a one question. Please state your name and your outlet before your question.
Antoine Trépanier from La Presse. My questions are is for Doug Ford and Premier Holt also. As the Council of Federation are going to vote for a new government at the end of the year. Ability to see being represented around the table at the next meeting.
Okay.
We're in.
Premier Legault, he's done a great job in my opinion. He's working hard for our country. If the separatists got elected, it's as simple as that. We have to be a united Canada right in our history to make sure that we stand shoulder to shoulder, united. And not only it'll be good for Canada, it will be good for Quebec. Remember that. You want to thrive, you want to prosper, you'll prosper a lot more as a united Canada.
En français? Ouais. Premièrement, j'aimerais prendre l'opportunité pour reconnaître le travail et le service du premier ministre Legault. Il a travaillé fort pour le Québec et était un bon partenaire pour nous autres autour de la table au Conseil de la Fédération. Au sujet de le futur du Québec, moi, je pense que le Canada est beaucoup plus fort avec le Québec inclus. Certainement, nous autres, au Nouveau-Brunswick, on voit que à ce moment, c'est l'opportunité pour le Canada d'une façon globale et on doit être unifié, on doit être fort ensemble comme un pays à cause de toutes les choses qui se passent, cette incertitude au moment. On ne devrait pas contribuer à l'incertitude économique et sociale. C'est le temps de se fortifier tout ensemble comme un pays uni avec chaque province, des provinces avec des cultures et des identités distinctes qui sont traitées d'une façon distincte, mais comme partie d'une équipe et d'une fédération, parce que quand on se rend à des autres pays, on doit être unifié et nous sommes certainement plus forts ensemble. C'est être unis, cette union qui fait la force pour nous autres. Alors, le Nouveau-Brunswick aimerait voir un Québec comme un bon voisin, un bon partenaire, partie du Canada.
Good afternoon. Émilie Bergeron from La Presse Canadienne. Premier Ford, I wanted to hear if you agree with what Prime Minister Carney said yesterday, that almost nothing is normal in the United States right now. Do you agree?
Well, I agree with them. I think the whole world is watching that, including Americans. Make no mistake about it. We love Americans. We love the U.S., and I know Americans love Canada. And it's unfortunate President Trump has taken this avenue that he's going down. But remember, a tariff on Canada is a tax on Americans. Americans know it. They're feeling it. And we need to have the AmCan fortress that I've been saying for a long time. And we'd be the wealthiest, the richest, two safest countries in the entire world. That's what we need to do. Our economies have been integrated for decades, for generations, especially the auto sector, since the 1960s. And, we just need to work together. It helps everyone, boost both economies. That's what we need to focus on, not this divisive fight that President Trump is putting out towards Canada, but also around the world.
Juste, Madame Holt, si vous pouvez répondre à la même question, est-ce que vous êtes d'accord avec Monsieur Carney là-dessus?
Oui, absolument. Il y a rien qui est de même dans les États-Unis. On voit d'une façon économique, de la sécurité publique, des questions de leur société et qu'est-ce qui se passe qui nous fait peur, honnêtement. Aujourd'hui, en Nouveau-Brunswick, on a des agents du ICE qui sont à Maine, qui sont sur la frontière avec le Nouveau-Brunswick et nous sommes inquiètes. Nous voyons qu'est-ce qui se passe dans les États-Unis et on ne le reconnaît pas comme nos amis, comme nos partenaires commerciaux, pour nous autres comme la famille, parce que nous avons des connexions, des familles qui sont des deux bords de la frontière. Alors, il n'y a rien qui ressemble les relations qu'on a eues entre Canada et les États-Unis depuis plusieurs années. On ne peut pas le retrouver à ce moment parce que c'est complètement changé. Sure, I do agree with Prime Minister Carney that that nothing is the same anymore with our relationship with the U.S., with what's happening in the United States right now. We don't recognize our longtime friends and trading partners. For us, our family members, we all the way down to Louisiana, but we see what's happening in the country. We see it in New Brunswick right now with ICE agents on the border of New Brunswick and Maine in Calais, and it makes all of us very uncomfortable. And there's nothing that we recognize in our neighbors right now with the leadership that they have, and we're eager to support them in a return to the long-standing and strong partnership that Canada and the U.S. have had for generations.
Yasmin Mehdi avec Radio-Canada. My question is for Premier Ford. I would like to know, what did Prime Minister Carney tell you to convince you that the deal with China would not hurt Ontario's auto industry, and what assurances did he give you?
Well, I think everyone knows where I stand. I was very clear with the Prime Minister, and I met with Minister Jolie. I look forward to sitting down and putting a strong auto strategy together and supporting our domestic auto manufacturers in Ontario. That's what we need to do. Focus on supporting them. It's very competitive out there. We have the best auto makers anywhere in the world in Ontario, and we need to support them.
Hi, Tessie Sanchi with the Hill Times. I'd like to focus on healthcare. Specifically, this is for both premiers, please. Neither one of your provinces has a pharmacare agreement. Are you interested in pharmacare? Are you pursuing an agreement? And just any other comments you have on how this new Liberal government can help you improve healthcare in your provinces?
Thanks for the question. New Brunswick is interested in coming to an agreement on pharmacare with the federal government, but we've been looking for recognition of our unique realities and flexibility to negotiate a deal that's going to work for New Brunswickers. And that's not the case right now, so there's not a lot of movement on that file.
Well, you took word for word almost. We'd like to sit down and discuss it further, see what's involved. But we'll have that opportunity through our Minister of Health. We'll sit down with the Federal Minister of Health, and we'll see what we can do.
Ian Bailey from the Globe and Mail. A question for Premier Ford, although Premier Holt you may want to weigh in as well. Premier Ford, you were at odds with the Prime Minister over tariffs and EVs in China. You managed to reach an accommodation. Today, the Prime Minister has taken the unusual step of convening a meeting with Premier Eby and Premier Smith, who are clearly at odds over pipelines. Do you think he can bring these two together to some kind of agreement? And do you think it's harmful for the division between these two provinces, these two leaders on this subject?
Well, first of all, great question. And I've said many times before, we're a big family, and within a family, there's going to be disagreements. But make no mistake about it, and I know Premier Holt feels the same way with all the other premiers. When we come out of a room, we're united. But make no mistake about it, there's different things that we may agree or disagree. We have a massive country. What may be good for New Brunswick may not be good for BC, that may not be good for Alberta or Ontario. Vice versa, but we've showed a united front, and it doesn't matter what political stripe the premiers come from. We have a very, very close relationship with each other, and we work together and we work things out. So I'm feeling confident of the Prime Minister. He can work out maybe some disagreements out on the West Coast. But we're all working, from the same song sheet with a couple different tweaks depending on what region you come from in Canada.
If I can, I would like to add on to that, Ian, because what Premier Ford said is exactly right. We all look for those opportunities to collaborate and the things that we can do together, because right now we're trying to build the strongest economy in the world here in Canada. And for New Brunswick, that means a real interest in getting things like a natural gas pipeline from Quebec City through to an LNG terminal in St. John that's just waiting to be fully utilized. We're doing energy projects that involve connected transmission, province to province to province, province, shared generation assets, and these kind of things require provincial partnerships, and they require federal support. And so I appreciate that Prime Minister Carney is there to facilitate the conversation, but not to dictate the end result, because as provinces, we are independent within our space, but part of a federation that works well when we all connect together and when we do things like fortify the Port of St. John so that we can get more Ontario goods to more global markets. That's good for New Brunswickers, that's good for Ontarians, it's actually good for some of Craig and the Port's clients in Saskatchewan and beyond. Those opportunities to collaborate and create a connected economy, coast to coast to coast, that gets our resources to markets all over the world. We want to find those opportunities and build those projects collaboratively together in a way that benefits provinces, the Federation, and Canada as a whole. Oui, absolument. On apprécie parce qu'il y a un rôle pour le gouvernement fédéral à jouer, certainement pour nous autres quand on considère l'objectif d'avoir un pipeline qui va de la ville de Québec, passer par Rivière-du-Loup, passer au Nouveau-Brunswick, puis se rendre à Saint-Jean pour le terminal LNG. On ne veut pas que la Fédération et le Premier ministre forcent le Québec à l'accepter, mais on ne veut pas aussi que le Québec détermine non, ça va pas. Les trois ensemble, peut-être on peut trouver des opportunités, qu'on a quelque chose qu'on veut, eux autres ont quelque chose qu'ils veulent, le gouvernement fédéral, on le fait collaborativement. On cherche les moyens pour fortifier le pays et nos opportunités internationales puis globales. Parce que ceci, c'est le moment. C'est le moment où Canada doit changer notre position, virer d'un bord international avec l'Europe, avec l'Asie, avec l'Afrique. Et on doit le faire ensemble. Alors, quand on fortifie nos connexions nationales d'un bord à l'autre, on donne une opportunité d'être compétitif de façon globale au moment où c'est le plus important.
Hi, this question is for Premier Ford. Stephanie Taylor with the National Post. As a Conservative, what number do you think Mr. Poilievre needs to get at his leadership review? And in your assessment, is he the national leader that Conservatives need right now?
Well, I'm really focused on Ontario. We're having our convention the same time they are. So I'm focusing on this weekend, getting the message out to our progressive Conservative base in Ontario and telling them the plan, how we're going to protect themselves, protect the jobs in their communities. That's what I'm going to be focused on. Good luck at the federal Conservative convention, but that's going to be up to them to determine if they want to move forward with Pierre Poilievre.
Good afternoon, Boris Pro, Le Devoir. My question is for Premier Ford. You just mentioned the election in 2026 of independence, movement in Quebec, a catastrophe. Do you trust Mark Carney is the right person right now to advocate for Canada, to be Canada's captain, or do you see yourself having a role, if any, in 2076 regarding that?
Well, I look at it that all premiers have a role. If we go back in time, the federal government last year at this time was pretty well falling apart. All the premiers stepped up. We went down to Washington, had some good meetings down there as a united group, and we carried the ball. Now, the Prime Minister, it's his job to make sure that we have a united country, that he's out there selling Canada, but it's also our job as provinces and territories to do the same thing. It's a Team Canada approach, and I think we're going to have a better year. I'm feeling positive compared to last year. With the government basically falling, Trump just got sworn in. He was attacking us, and we were all, at the time, the whole world's kissing his backside. But now we know President Trump's rules. There are no rules with him. So we need to focus on what we can do, no matter, I'll speak for Ontario, making sure that we expand our nuclear capacity and also our critical minerals, our rare earth minerals. And many provinces have nuclear, as New Brunswick has. And we work closely. OPG works very closely with New Brunswick's nuclear experts. And we're a powerhouse around the world. So we have to make sure that we continue building the small modular reactors. And we have quite a few orders for that. And I know the Americans need our energy. and they need the critical minerals. So let's hope we can get a deal signed for the CUSMA, USMCA, whatever you may want to call it, and start moving forward and give us some certainty.
Madame Holt, sur Mark Carney, Capitaine Canada.
Ben, je pense qu'on a vu qu'est-ce que Mark Carney a fait cette semaine sur la scène internationale, a positionné Canada pour attirer de plus en plus de partenaires et des alliés, des opportunités commerciales. Et comme le premier ministre Ford a dit, nous autres, on a des minéraux critiques au Nouveau-Brunswick. On a 21 des 34 minéraux critiques du Canada et on ne veut pas les vendre en Chine. On veut les vendre à nos alliés et on veut les utiliser pour faire croître notre économie. Carney est là, créer des opportunités, de nouveaux échanges commerciaux avec plusieurs pays, une équipe d'achat pour nos minéraux, ça nous aide. Et moi, le travail qu'il fait pour nous donner l'opportunité de faire des partenariats comme le Nouveau-Brunswick et Ontario de façon d'énergie nucléaire. On a quelqu'un qui gère notre pays de façon qui regarde ses atouts et ses forces et qui nous donne de l'investissement et de l'appui pour le faire d'une façon avec de l'investissement privé et avec des partenariats régionaux, interprovinciaux. Alors, je pense qu'il fait un travail important dans ce moment d'une façon globale. C'est bon pour le Canada, c'est bon pour le Nouveau-Brunswick.
Hello, I'm Aya with iPolitics. My question is for Premier Ford. Do you still think a deep sea port on James Bay is a viable idea, given that things are going well with Port St. John and that the federal government voiced support for Churchill in Manitoba?
Yeah, I think the more ports, the better. So I'm in favor of all ports, and including the one that we're proposing. But we have other priorities as well, making sure we build out our nuclear, support the road to the Ring of Fire, building homes, and helping the auto sector. So those are some of the other areas that we need to focus on in Ontario. And we have everything in Canada that we need. We just have to cut the red tape, the regulatory burden. I've always said to our team, and I've said it to our federal counterparts, faster, quicker, immediate. It's first out of the gate. We're in a world competition. It's like the World Olympics in the economy, and we have to get out there. We can't be taking 15 years to get approvals to put a hole in the ground to get critical minerals. We can't take 18 to 20 years to build out our nuclear. We need to move quicker, knock down the barriers, the bureaucracy, and start moving. It's good to go around and talk. Talk is cheap. Let's start seeing action now. Let's start moving on these large infrastructure projects right across our country.
Good afternoon, Caitlin here with CTV News. My question is for Premier Ford. Premier, last October, Ottawa City Council passed a motion directing the city to begin negotiations with your government on uploading the LRT. What progress has been made, and when can residents expect an outcome?
Which LRT are we talking about? The City of Toronto's?
Ottawa.
Ottawa LRT. Well, we're working with the mayor, and by the way, Mayor Sutcliffe is a fine gentleman. He's doing a great job. We're continuing to work with him, and we're going to continue talking to him. We've made some huge investments for the people of Ottawa, and we're going to continue to invest in the people of Ottawa. I think the last deal was about $700 million. Uploading a highway and giving them quite a few other things that they need. And we'll be there to support them on the LRT as well.
Thank you, Premier. Marco Vigliotti with QP Briefing. I just wanted to go back to an earlier response you had about, Mark Carney and his position as being Captain Canada. I understand that you're saying the context is a lot different than it was in early 2025, but you certainly have not been quiet about, your demands or your kind of issues with some of the trade discussions we've seen so far. So I'm just wondering, considering, we're going to have that CUSMA review start over the summer, are you reconsidering how vocal you are, or how you're going to be when it comes to trade issues with the United States in particular?
I'm going to continue defending Ontario and Canadians right across the board. I'll continue being vocal as well, no matter if it's on American networks or going down there. I was pretty vocal when I went to see Governor Hochul making a energy deal with her. She's a great governor, and other governors I speak to. I'll always voice my opinion and just explain to Americans how important a trade deal with Canada is, and reminding them that we're their number one customer in the world. We buy more products, more services, more widgets off Americans than any other country, and vice versa. They're our number one customer as well. So I want to work together. I want to work with the governors. We can circumvent the president, let the prime minister deal with the president, and myself and other premiers. We have a great relationship with governors down in the U.S.
Hi, Mark Ramsey with the Toronto Star. Premier Ford, why is your party banning media from your convention this weekend, and do you agree with that decision?
Yeah, well, you know something, it's a convention, and I'm out in the media almost every second day, and we'll chat. But yeah, this is a party convention, so we're going to keep it as a party convention. But I'm always open to sit down and chat with you folks anytime you want.
Joanna Smith with The Logic. We're well past the 30-day period, past the notice of default that Minister Joly gave Stellantis. Do you have an update on what she plans to do in terms of their revised plans, and did that play a role in your reception to what Carney has said on EVs in China?
No, we didn't talk too much about Stellantis. Our goal is to make sure Stellantis opens up the shifts on the Brampton facility. It's sitting there empty right now. I know they're running 3 shifts down in Windsor, but that's our ultimate goal, is to work something out with Stellantis that they can fill that plant with a new model. Now, in saying that, when I talk to Stellantis, it really depends on the USMCA deal, or CUSMA deal, I should say, and gives them more certainty. That's all the more reason that President Trump needs to put a deal together. We buy more cars than any other jurisdiction in the world off the U.S., over 400% more cars than other countries. We buy approximately about 1.9 million cars, and we have to continue focusing on our domestic car manufacturers. That's what we need to do. That's what we're doing in Ontario, and I know the federal government has helped us along the way.
Sergio Vargas with Global News. Premier Ford, Premier Canoe recently invoked the Team Canada approach, asking you to hold back on pulling Crown Royal from Ontario's liquor stores. One, are you still looking to move forward with that move, and are you planning to meet with Premier Canoe on this issue?
Yeah, I have an incredible relationship with Premier Canoe. He's a good pal of mine. He's doing what any other premier would do, try to protect his jobs, and I'm doing what I should be doing for Ontario, protecting our jobs. I put an olive branch out to Diageo. Show me how you're going to replace those 200 jobs. I won't have a problem. It's all about protecting the people. It's protecting their jobs, protecting their livelihoods. You know, generations have worked in that plant. And when you go into a small town and you close that plant down, that affects the community in a big, big way. So we're going to continue working to see if we can resolve this with Diageo.
Hi, Premiers. Kyle Duggan from the Canadian Press. The federal government has a 25% tariff on wind towers right now. I'm curious if either of you are concerned about how this could affect wind development in your province or the future energy mix.
Well, we're going to do a little mixture of everything. We're really focused right now on the nuclear expansion as well. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But my key focus right now on energy is nuclear. But I got to give a shout out to Minister Lecce. He's the Minister of Energy, Minister of Mining. He's like the Energizer Bunny, and he's going full steam on our build out. But it's going to be diverse build out, by the way, too.
This will be the last reporter.
Hi, Premier Ford. It's Tom Parry with CBC. I just wanted to ask you, just go back to an earlier question. Sure. Did the Prime Minister offer you any kind of assurances on this deal to bring Chinese EVs into Canada? Because it sounds like you've still got some pretty deep concerns about that.
Well, I appreciate that, Tom. I don't get into personal details, but at a high level, we had a great conversation with the Prime Minister and Minister Joly. She's handling that file. And it's all about making sure that we protect our domestic manufacturers, put money in there to support them. I think I've been very clear how I feel about bringing in Chinese spy vehicles, and that's where I stand. So we'll see what happens, but I'm going to be focusing on companies like Ford, like General Motors, Toyota, Honda, and yes, Stellantis.
That concludes our press conference. We'll end with a photo if everyone could just stay up there.
That's great. Thank you, everyone. By the way, get this on record. Those were excellent questions from the media. I have to ship some of you guys to Toronto.